We had a question pop up today about how different damage types work, and given that we're in patch 0.9 and this answer just changed, and it's kind of a big change for Last Epoch, I figured that why not take a moment right now and talk about it. So one of the big changes, along with all the unique items and all the skill changes and multiplayer, by the way, that came with patch 0.9 is the change to melee implicit modifiers. So whenever you're looking at an item, you have prefixes, you have suffixes. In Last Epoch, you get 2 prefixes, 2 suffixes. But for this conversation, we're going to primarily talk about implicit modifiers. So that's everything at the very top of the item. So this is a arcane visage, and this base type has armor, cooldown, recovery speed, and mana. So that's the implicit we're talking about. Taking a look at this sword right here, this sword in the past, it had plus 40 melee physical damage, but you would only ever use a crystal sword when you were playing an elemental build, because it has melee elemental damage and melee elemental attack speed. It had all these like elemental things, but it had physical damage on it. So sometimes in the past, your skill would convert all damage to elemental. Like if you're playing a cold skill, maybe it would convert all the cold stuff to cold, or all the physical stuff to cold. Now everything has been streamlined, which is awesome. So pretty much every build in Last Epoch in patch 0.9 that uses a crystal sword is like it's buffed. Like it's buffed in a huge way, because instead of only having the prefix modifier, this 41 melee cold damage, you also have all of the implicit modifier, because it's no longer physical. It's now converted completely, which is great. So for the build that we're playing here in the background, I'm not going to do a build guide right now, but we're going to talk about it just for a moment. We're playing Surge. So I'm poking an enemy, poke, 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 and then I use Surge, and it's dealing lightning, melee, area damage, right? So we're just gonna like this. Because I'm a Spellblade, I have a lot of nodes that say like melee fire damage, lightning damage for lightning attacks, lightning damage for lightning attacks. I think there's like some cold damage node that I might take. Yeah, melee cold damage. I might take that melee cold damage. And I also have this melee cold damage here. So speaking of the change that happened this patch, the prefix modifier says plus 40 melee damage. The word adaptive no longer exists in Last Epoch, but I'm going to keep using the word adaptive because it's a good descriptive word that details what's actually happening. So it's plus 40 melee damage, and it adapts to whatever tags are on your skill. So Surge is a lightning thing, so all that 40 damage is becoming lightning. Lightning is relevant for me in particular, because in the Surge skill tree, I have this node down here. It says Surge deals more lightning damage per static charge stuff. So I want as much of my flat damage to be lightning as possible, which normally is pretty easy because it's adaptive, and that's the implicit modifier. So I have melee cold damage, and melee cold damage is pretty good because it scales with, you know, melee elemental damage increases. I have this node in my mastery that says deals more elemental damage, which is good because cold is still elemental. So like most of my damage is still pointing in the right direction, but not only am I missing out on this node here, which is the lightning damage over there. Let's take a look at this right here. This lightning shred that I have as a blessing, I'm currently losing out on this. This lightning shred could be affecting all of my damage, but it's only affecting like 70-ish% of my damage because my sword has the wrong text on it. I think that appropriately covers what's going on here. I guess as a TLDR, every build in 0.9 that uses a crystal sword is way more powerful than it's been in the past. Flame Reave, the AoE is a little bit smaller than it used to be. Flame Reave is good. Surge is awesome. Like I kind of want to try playing crit melee Shatter Strike. In the past, Shatter Strike's really been a Frostbite build, but now with the crystal sword change, I kind of want to try this as well. Using a katana, for example. A katana is a fast one-hander that has crit multi on it. Using that in like, I don't know, maybe fire melee warpath. Maybe using it on like void crit melee rive. That could be a thing as well. So all sorts of things like that become so much easier to build, and I'll have all of your damage pointing in the right direction and scaled with all the modifiers that you're picking up, I think it's great. Melee is in a great spot. I'm happy with this.